How's it going, YouTube? Coincidence here with another video, and today, guys, the video is going to be the top 5 striker tips and tricks that you need to know for the deck. If you haven't already checked out my sponsors over on Gem, Cloud, Arla, Imperium, Dragonshield, RW, MainPhaze, or Grimoire, definitely go ahead and do so down below in the description. Check out my METAFY if you haven't already for one-on-one coaching, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can hit our goal at 30,000. To hop right in here, we're going to have the first one, which is my favorite, and that is to clear a monster. You can also utilize linkage in very interesting ways. So let's say that you have a card on the board and you activate linkage. You can then go ahead and chain anchor to steal your opponent's monster. Now, resolution, you steal their monster and then linkage goes to resolve. You send their monster and you summon your own. This is extremely important as this deck is still extremely fair. And you have to have the most favorable trades in this deck if you want to win. And this is such a crazy interaction because of the fact that this deck, you'll only win with the most minimalistic of plays, and that's really understanding your technical play and knowing what you can and you can't do in a deck, right? This deck is no different, and it's very specific. So this play alone can definitely get you in a lethal position, especially if you have a backup linkage. Now, 50-50 on multi-roll, 50-50 on area 0, but one thing that many people don't know is the fact that multi-roll shares the same effect as area 0, and the regard that you can target a card, but it doesn't necessarily have to go to grave. And that's because it's a conjunction, it's also. So both things are simultaneously happening, and it was a legal activation when you go to do it, because if you activate multi-roll or area 0 and target Raye, then chain Raye, your cards will still fully resolve. So if your opponent is just staring at you activating multi-roll and they don't jump yet, and then you go multi-roll target Raye, now they're in a really interesting position because the second that they let multi-roll resolve, they're going to be in a bad spot. Especially when you go chain Raye, summon 0, add like engage, or if you need an immediate anchor, you can just add anchor, right? So now you're at a spot where you're adding a spell that's going to be really impactful and they can no longer respond. So you can just go multi-roll target Raye, chain Raye. And if you need interaction from your opponent so you can start getting your Widow Anchors and your burners and cannons to go through, this is a good way to go about it. Now, if not, the most important thing that you should know in the mirror match for Striker is that you always want to have Rose engrave in the mirror match, not necessarily Raye. And the reason being is, let's say that you use Burner, you have a different card that you go ahead and clear their Link monster in the EMZ with. This is where this becomes extremely valuable to know. So, turn player priority, you burner their Link monster, right? And then you're in a new chain link where you go chain link 1 Rose because you blew up their Link monster. They're chain link 2 Raye. That's perfectly fine because Raye will summon and then Rose will summon and you'll negate the Raye. So they can't chain Raye because if they do, nothing will happen. It will just go back to grave, right? Because it's already negated because of the Rose. And that's extremely important in the mirror. If you played this mirror, you know getting back your Raye on board and then going directly into like a 0 or a Kagari to add back an anchor and engage something that you need if you want to like Lemnis Gate, right? They can't do that because the Raye is now negated, and now they're in an extremely awkward position because at this point, your thrust is definitely online. Your talent is online, right? And even with thrust, if you activate that and they chain the Raye and get it off the board, right, then you're just going to be setting. But at the same time, you're going to be able to deal with the Raye coming back to the board versus them gaining more advantage this way, which is also extremely important to know. My new favorite combo in the deck is definitely ending on Camellia with Droplet because of the fact that you can Droplet negate something that's a problem and then use Camellia in the grave to go ahead and get rid of that monster and give them the Camellia. Now, it's not always the most optimal to be able to give your opponent a monster still, but what I like about this play is the fact that, especially if you do it toward like the end of the turn, and then your opponent has to give you back the Camellia because that's how it's worded, is kind of nice. So let's say that your Camellia made it into the end phase, right? This is a pretty crazy way to go about a turn. I know that there's a lot of people not sold on this card if you're not playing it in like Yummy, but it still has a lot of applications in the deck, and it can just be an endboard piece now that can clear an opponent's monster. The last one here is just one to remember if you ever open up just Drone or Rose, and you're like, well, I can't go Raye into 0, what do I do? You still have the ability to go drone into Shizuku or Rose into Shizuku, then go end phase, add linkage into 0, and then you can add your follow-up. But if you also are playing a roll, you can go ahead and just activate that spell and then reset it with roll, so you can make sure that you have it still. And that's another way to make sure that you can end on the 0 pop, and you're going to make sure that you have your extra card that you wanted off like the roll. And again, I know it's like 50-50 to play roll, but I think that card's still important at 1. I hope that today's video did help you, and if you learned anything, definitely let me know down below in the comment section. If you haven't already checked out my Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Instagram, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, definitely go ahead and do so. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you.